There is a book containing a story so vast it chronicles the rise and fall of primordial beasts, the silent spread of forests, and the flickering consciousness of every human being who has ever lived. This book is not bound in leather or stored in a dusty library. It is bound in flesh and bone. It is written inside you. A 3 billion-letter epic repeated in nearly every one of your 37 trillion cells. We call it DNA. We call it the blueprint of life, a miracle of evolution. But what if it's not? What if this elegant serpentine molecule is not a product of our world, but a message from another? What if the code that makes you, you, is not a testament to survival of the fittest on Earth, but a piece of technology, an ancient hard drive, delivered here from the cold, silent depths of interstellar space? The story you've been told about our origins is a comforting lie. Tonight, we peel back the skin of reality and read the terrifying truth written in our own blood. This is not a story about biology. It's a ghost story where we are the haunted house, and the ghost is the very code that gives us life. Our story begins not in the cosmos, but in the dreary post-war gloom of 1950s England. The world was obsessed with codes. The Enigma code had been broken. The Cold War was a silent chess game of secrets and spies. And a new race was on. Not for nuclear supremacy, but for something far more fundamental: the code of life itself. In laboratories at Cambridge and King's College London, a handful of brilliant, ambitious, and deeply flawed minds were locked in a feverish competition. At the Cavendish Laboratory in Cambridge, we have our protagonists, or perhaps our anti-heroes. James Watson, a young, brash American prodigy, and Francis Crick, a British physicist with a mind like a steel trap and a laugh that could be heard from across the campus. They were hunters, code breakers in the purest sense, driven by an almost manic desire to be first. They saw the problem of life not as a beautiful mystery, but a puzzle to be conquered, a summit to be claimed, a prize to be won. Their methods were unconventional. They didn't perform meticulous experiments. They absorbed data from others. They theorized. They built models like children playing with toys, except their toys were the very components of existence. And then, just a short train ride away at King's College London, there was Rosalind Franklin, the ghost in our machine. A brilliant, fiercely intelligent X-ray crystallographer, a perfectionist working in a world that was not built for her. In the boys' club of post-war science, she was an outsider, respected for her skill, but kept at a distance. She worked tirelessly, methodically, in the damped basement labs, firing X-ray beams at tiny, almost invisible DNA fibers for hours, for days. She was coaxing a secret out of the universe, and she was getting closer than anyone else. She captured an image, a cryptic, ghostly X surrounded by a diamond of smudges, an image that would become known as Photograph 51. It was no ordinary picture. It was a shadow cast by the scaffold of life itself, a treasure map leading to the heart of the mystery. Rosalind saw the pattern. She knew it was a helix, and she meticulously noted it in her research. But she was cautious. She needed more proof. She didn't know that in the world of hungry wolves, caution is a fatal flaw. So, what did this photograph 51 truly reveal? What is this code that governs us? The structure that Watson and Crick would famously claim as their discovery is the double helix. But don't think of it as a simple twisted ladder. That's the sanitized textbook version. Imagine instead a serpent, a cosmic Ouroboros, swallowing its own tail for eternity, or a serpentine staircase spiraling down into an infinite dark library. The two backbones are made of sugar and phosphate, a framework as rigid as fate. The rungs of this staircase are the crucial part. They are pairs of 4 chemical bases: adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine, A, T, C, and G. A 4-letter alphabet. A 4-letter alphabet that writes everything. Your eye color? It's a sentence written in ATC. Your predisposition to disease? It's a grim footnote in the text. Your ability to comprehend this very sentence? It is a paragraph, a chapter in the epic of your personal code. 3 billion letters. If you were to print out the full genetic code from a single human cell, it would fill a stack of books 200 feet high. We are, each of us, a walking, talking library of Alexandria, written in a language we have only just begun to decipher. But here is where it gets chilling. For decades, scientists believed that only a tiny fraction of this code, about 2%, actually did anything. These are the genes that create proteins, the building blocks of our bodies. The other 98%? It was dismissed. They called it junk DNA, a meaningless evolutionary leftover, a typo-filled ramble from a billion years of evolution. Think about that, the arrogance. To find the most sophisticated information storage system in the known universe, and to declare 98% of it to be garbage? What if it's not junk? What if it's encrypted? What if it's the part of the message we aren't meant to read yet? A dormant program, a set of instructions waiting for a trigger. Or perhaps a signature, the manufacturer's label. This is where our story leaves the familiar shores of Earth and plunges into the abyss. The idea that this hyper-advanced code simply bubbled up from a muddy puddle on primordial Earth has always felt a little too convenient for some. So, a theory once relegated to the fringes has been gaining a terrifying credibility. The theory of panspermia. Panspermia suggests that life, or at least its essential building blocks, did not originate here. It came from out there. It suggests that asteroids and comets, the wandering debris of the cosmos, acted as seeds, carrying amino acids and perhaps even microbes across the void. That meteorite that slammed into the young Earth 4 billion years ago, it wasn't just a rock, it was a delivery, an infection. Life on Earth isn't an indigenous feature, it's an invasive species. But let's take it a step further. What if it wasn't an accident? This is a concept called directed panspermia, a theory so wild that it could only be proposed by someone who had already stared into the heart of the code itself. And it was. The co-discoverer of the double helix, Francis Crick, in his later years, became a proponent of this very idea. He suggested that an ancient, highly advanced alien civilization, perhaps facing its own extinction, seeded the galaxy with the building blocks of life. They packed their genetic legacy into tiny protected probes and fired them off at promising young planets. They didn't send starships or monuments, they sent the code, the software, and allowed it to run on whatever biological hardware it could find. Are you feeling a chill yet? The implications are staggering. We are not the masters of our own planet. We are the result of a cosmic gardening project. Our evolution wasn't a random walk, it was a program executing. Every war, every symphony, every act of love and betrayal, all of it is just an emergent property of an alien operating system that has been running for billions of years. And it brings up the most terrifying question of all. What is the program's ultimate purpose? To understand how deep this mystery goes, we have to return to that lab in London. We have to witness the moment the key was stolen. Rosalind Franklin was on the verge of solving it all. Her notebooks from that time are meticulous, precise. She had identified the helical structure. She had calculated the dimensions. She was 1 or 2 steps away from the final model. But her colleague, Maurice Wilkins, was growing impatient. He felt she was hoarding the data. In an act that history must judge as either a gross misunderstanding or a catastrophic act of intellectual theft, Wilkins did something unforgivable. Without Rosalind Franklin's knowledge or permission, he walked into James Watson's office and showed him photograph 51. Imagine that moment, the casual betrayal, the dark, grainy image on the table. For Watson, it was a thunderclap. He didn't see the years of painstaking work behind it. He saw the answer. He saw the X of the helix, a pattern his mind, primed for the hunt, recognized instantly. He later wrote, "The instant I saw the picture, my mouth fell open and my pulse began to race." It was the confession of a thief who had just been handed the keys to the vault. Armed with Franklin's stolen data, her measurements, her symmetry calculations, Watson and Crick raced back to their models. It was no longer a guess, it was a matter of assembly. Within weeks, they had it. The elegant, iconic double helix. They published their findings in the journal Nature in 1953. In the same issue, Franklin's own paper was published, but it was positioned as a supporting piece, as if it were merely confirming their brilliant discovery. The heist was complete. Watson, Crick, and Wilkins would go on to win the Nobel Prize in 1962. Rosalind Franklin could not. She had died 4 years earlier, at the age of 37, from ovarian cancer, likely caused by the very X-ray radiation she had used to unveil the secret of life. A final, dark irony. She gave her life to find the code, and others claimed the glory. It's a chilling parallel. She decoded a message she couldn't fully comprehend, just as we may be living inside a message we cannot comprehend. If the directed panspermia theory is true, what happens next? If 98% of our DNA is a dormant program, what happens when we finally develop the technology to read it? Or worse, to rewrite it? Imagine a geneticist in the near future sequencing the so-called junk DNA from a human sample. They're not expecting to find anything. But then a pattern emerges from the noise. Not a biological instruction, but a mathematical one. A sequence of prime numbers, or the value of pi to 1,000 decimal places. An unmistakable sign of intelligence. A hello world from the manufacturers. Or imagine something more complex. A star map pointing to a dead sun in a forgotten corner of the galaxy, the home of our creators. Or a warning, a message detailing the catastrophe that befell them, a final plea to their genetic children not to make the same mistakes. The most horrifying possibility, however, is that the code isn't a message to us, but a program that uses us. We believe we have free will, but what if we are simply a biological machine designed for a single purpose? Perhaps we are a planetary terraforming engine, slowly altering Earth's atmosphere over millions of years to make it suitable for their return. Our industry, our pollution, our wars, all part of the plan. Or maybe, just maybe, there's a trigger, a final command buried deep in the junk code, waiting for a specific solar flare, a specific chemical in the environment, or maybe even a specific technological achievement by us, its creation. A switch that, when flipped, will awaken a new function within us. What will we become then? Will we be their army, our archivists? Or will the program simply finish its run and shut down the hardware it no longer needs? The horror is not in an alien invasion from the sky. It is the realization that the invasion already happened billions of years ago. The aliens are not coming. They are already here. The final terrifying twist is this. We are no longer just reading the code. We are now writing it. With technologies like CRISPR, we hold the power to edit the book of life. We snip out sentences we don't like, hereditary diseases, imperfections. We write in new chapters. We are like children who have found their absent parents' supercomputer and are now randomly deleting lines of code, hoping to make the games run better. We see it as humanity taking control of its own destiny. But what if we are committing the ultimate act of cosmic vandalism? What if we are erasing the message before we've had a chance to read it? As we clumsily rewrite this ancient alien text, are we simply fixing typos? Or are we deleting the signature of our creators, silencing their final whisper across the void? And the one question that should keep you awake tonight is this. What happens when the original authors of the code realize that their precious message is no longer being received?